Hey guys, crack open a drink because we are back with another episode of the Blue Podcast with me, Mackers and Tom. How you doing, mate?
Doing very well today, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm very good. I've got the old favourite on the channel, the old speckled hen back on.
Terrible choice in my opinion, but each their own.
Yep, we've got another great guest on today. We've got producer for the Fellas Podcast, senior producer for the Fellas Podcast, and also a producer on, I forgot how to say this, previously worked for Virgin Media and Yahoo UK. We've got PRODDY C.
Hello, boys. Hello. Yes. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on. That's a shocking beer, by the way. Absolutely disgraceful.
Thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah.
I had a Doom bar on the first one as well.
What's the thought behind it?
I just like the taste.
Really? You're an ale man?
Yes.
Okay.
This man also likes the taste of Foster's though, so don't let that fool
that's
you.
weird. If you're an ale man, you kind of know your beer and then you like Foster's.
It's purely just a university thing.
Ah, fair enough.
Swansea University was at £1.80 in the pub I went to for a Foster's. So just...
I've just spilled beer down me.
Do you know what? You're like the fourth guest to do that. So
no, I'm trying to chat and then I fucking missed my pint glass.
Yeah. Was that... I think the only person that hasn't spilled is Simon and John.
Yeah, Simon and John, big ups to them.
Well, you know what? I used to have a thing when I was growing up. I used to not be able to go out for a meal without spilling like a whole table of drinks.
When you say growing up, that's still going on clearly, is that?
Yeah, no, a bit, but I'm less clumsy now. But I'm still really clumsy. I think it's just like, you know, people naturally just like, my coordination's all right. But you know, when you're just naturally a bit kind of like haphazard and just like, you don't know your like personal boundaries and shit. That's me.
Especially after a couple of drinks.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Only had the coffee this morning, so not oiled yet.
All right, well, we'll crack on into our icebreaker questions. For anyone that doesn't know, we ask 2 questions each, me and Tom. I'm fumbling my words today. It's not great. But and then if you get it wrong, take a big gulp and just a bit of fun.
Yeah,
so
multiple choice questions.
Yes.
And today's topic is?
Well, so last week we had Big John on, Chelsea fan. I'm a Chelsea fan. Proddy's a Chelsea fan.
Yes.
So I thought it was only right to do Chelsea as our icebreaker question topic.
Nice.
I'll let you kick us off, Tom.
Yeah, I mean,
if we get this wrong, by the way, as well, it's
kind of embarrassing. I'm
curds.
not a Forest fan, so there's no pressure on me to get these right whatsoever.
So are you from Nottingham?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good.
What are you trying to pin on me?
No, I'm not.
You
know what? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But I like that you support your local. Like
I'm from Southwest London.
So okay, it's still kind of local. I'm from Guildford, so not too far. Nearest Prem team. But my granddad was a Chelsea fan. So.
Yeah. So was my granddad and his granddad.
Probably went to games together.
Went to a couple of games. I used to have a season ticket.
No, my granddad and your granddad.
Probably. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll kick things off, and you're going to see very quickly I'm taking a very pessimistic approach to this.
Thank you, mate.
Who scored the least goals for Chelsea in all competitions, by the way? Was it A, Fernando Torres, B, Alvaro Morata, or C, Timo Werner?
I want to say Morata.
I'm going to say that's a bit of a red herring, because like although Morata was shit...
But he was only there for a season and a half. It's definitely not Torres.
I don't know, man. He didn't score that many.
But it's definitely. I know it's not Torres. I'm certain.
Really?
Of it, yes. And I'm gonna probably, if I eat my words, then
I think it might be Timo. You know, I feel like Morata scored more than Timo.
No, because he scored quite a few in the Champions League.
Morata was there longer than Werner. I think Morata was 2 seasons, wasn't he?
He was only a season and a half, wasn't he?
He went in January.
He was injury as well.
All right, I'll back you here. I'm going to go with Morata then.
You really shouldn't have. It was Werner.
Fuck's sake,
although not by a lot. So Torres obviously big red herring because he got 45 goals.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't Torres.
Morata got 24 and Werner got 23.
Oh, you're kidding.
You can't get much closer than that, really.
Oh. All right, well, big goal from us. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
By the way, you guys aren't allowed to let me win at this. It would be really poor on you if I came away knowing the most about Chelsea.
I'm also sinking. My question 1. Who scored the goal in the 2012 Chelsea 1-0 win versus Barcelona? This was my one Champions League game I went to. Was it A, Frank Lampard, B, Didier Drogba, or C, Solomon Kalou?
The home leg. Oh, shit.
It's the only Champions League game I've been to. It was amazing.
Oh, this is fraudulent from me not knowing this straight away.
Well, I was going to wait for you to answer, but now I'm thinking I'm going to try and come up with a response for myself. I'm going Kalou. I'm
going to go with Frank Lampard.
You're both wrong.
Oh, fuck off.
Drogba.
We should have just gone with the obvious, shouldn't we?
Didier Drogba.
You know what I thought it was? I thought for some reason on that Champions League campaign it was a penalty. but I think that was an earlier round.
Yeah, that wasn't a penalty.
No.
It was a cross in from, I think, Callum or Mata. I can't quite remember. I was 12 years old, to be fair.
Callum was such a underrated.
Cheers, Cam.
Cheers, mate.
I thought Callum would be a bit too obscure.
My dad would certainly disagree with the Callum's.
You know what? It's an interesting one with the old boys at Chelsea, isn't it? Because like, obviously, I met a fair few of them, and their views on football are so different to like ours. I think it's a generation thing. Like my dad, he can't stand like playing out from the back. Like he actually
that's
can't stand it.
I know my mum's dad, who's a Spurs fan. Whenever Spurs play like pass it backwards, he would just shout at the TV, go, "Why pass it backwards?"
Yeah.
And then me and my dad go there to keep in possession.
Yeah. my dad shouts at the TV or shouts at me when we're at the games. Just like shoot from like 50 yards. It doesn't work like that, bro.
No, he's missing the Michael Essien days.
Yeah, exactly.
Those were some screamers.
I'm guessing they're not massive fans of spending 465 million either.
We'll get into that later in the podcast.
Method to the madness.
Yes. Well,
we'll definitely touch on that.
We have just signed another right back.
Yeah, Gusto.
Yep.
Yeah. Not till summer.
Not till June, but
which kind of fucks us because if Reece James gets injured, our season's even more fucked. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
Next question 2. Which manager saw Chelsea to their lowest ever Premier League finish in the 93-94 season?
93-94.
Weren't Chelsea fans before.
I wasn't born then.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, neither. 97 I was born.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 2000. I know you're 20, but
Behave.
Is
it A? I'll give you a chance here.
Yeah.
Glenn Hoddle. B. Ruud Gullit. Or C.
Nope.
Gianluca Vialli.
nope. Hoddle.
It's Hoddle, 100%.
Yep.
Them other two were successful.
Mm-hmm.
That was very quick. Yeah, it's Hoddle. yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
You don't need to
It's
drink.
mad that he was our manager.
Yeah, I know. And he's not very nice in the pundit as a pundit, is he?
No, he's obviously got a sour taste in his mouth. He's
Yes.
more of a Spurs man,
Isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
My last question of the icebreaker round. Which team did Frank Lampard score his last goal for Chelsea against? Was it A, Aston Villa, B, Stoke, or C, Sunderland? That's a bit of silence there.
Well, I'm
So
going
tricky.
to stab in the dark and say Sunderland. They were in the Prem back then, so.
Yeah.
They were
But
all-
then-
all
but when
these
we won
teams
the
were.
league, when we won the league under Conte, they were also in the Prem. Because remember Terry got that like send off, so that was even pretty recent.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna go. Sorry, can you say it again? Sunderland.
Stoke,
or-
Villa.
I'm gonna say it was Villa because I remember we beat them 8-0 on the last day of the season once.
We did. I think I was at that game.
Yeah,
I think with my
but
sister.
was that wasn't the one to win the league? The Wigan 8-0
No.
was to win the league.
Yes.
Wasn't it? But yeah, we beat Villa last day 8-0. So I think it's that.
What are you going with? Sunderland.
Sunderland, yeah.
Well,
It's going to be Stoke, isn't it?
Yeah.
it is Stoke.
Of course it is.
Frank Lampard
Yeah.
actually broke the record, the Chelsea record against Villa.
You know what? I'm gonna get fucking cooked. My knowledge is so bad. I'm so bad with like facts and stats and stuff though, which is great as a producer. But
Well, I mean, you both got Glenn Hoddle right, which is at least something. Maybe perhaps I made that question a bit too easy.
I think Vialli was after Hoddle, I think.
yeah,
And
Vialli was after
Gullit
Hull
was before.
Before wasn't Vialli before Hullet?
No, I thought Gullit was before Vialli. I can't.
Yeah, you see, I wasn't born.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Hoddle was before Vialli.
Yeah.
When I was doing my research. But anyway, we'll dive straight into it, Callum.
Perfect.
Obviously, you're very well known for producing The Fellas,
Yep.
and that's where probably everyone watching and listening to this knows you from. But I want to take it back a little bit. Well, not before The Fellas, but during your time on there, because you were a producer on one of Holly Willoughby's podcasts,
Yeah,
and also a producer on the England podcast during
Yes.
the Euro 2020 campaign. So just talk to us about your experience with them.
Yeah, man. Like I obviously did loads of like, you know, random podcasts that were just kind of during my time like building up portfolio and stuff. But those two were like kind of like my main ones whilst I was freelancing. I'll start with the England one because that was like before. That one definitely came about at the right time because it was, you know, I don't know if you guys know, but like freelancing is one of these weird ones. Like you very much have to like go with the flow, but also at the same time you're constantly thinking like making enough money each month and stuff. And you know, I was lucky that I was able to like put myself in the position to do freelancing at the time, but also it's incredibly stressful. So that one came along and it was obviously like 30 days of work, all one day off another. So you managed to like make enough money for like 3 months off that 1 month basically. And that was one of them projects that was so sick. Worked with Adam Smith from Sky Sports, became really good pals with him. every day. It was all over Zoom, so
Yeah.
I could do it from my own flat. And then just was on like FaceTime, or not FaceTime, but similar to the England players, chatting to them. And then actually, like, one thing that happened was so sick. I've met him before, but John Terry was like a guest, and
That's sick.
Smithy was like, "Oh, Cal's a massive Chelsea fan," and then Terry was like chatting in his office where he's obviously got all his trophies and stuff. And then after the call, like, we were just like chilling, chatting and stuff. And he's like, he gave me a tour of his whole trophy room.
No.
So sick.
No.
So sick. Yeah.
Okay, I'm now instantly jealous.
Yeah, honestly. And the thing is as well, like, obviously I'm biased because, you know, I'm a Chelsea fan, but he is just such a nice man.
Is
like,
he?
Such a lovely bloke. And you'd think with all the media that he has to do and the fact that he's kind of somewhat, not retired from coaching because he's still very much involved at Chelsea now.
He's in the youth academy, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So he stepped back from being like a number 2. He's still got so much time for everyone. And yeah, it's like he wasn't getting paid to do this, I don't think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a class bloke. But that was a brilliant project. I really enjoyed that.
Is there anyone else through this apart from John Terry that's kind of you've had that moment of awe almost?
My first one. So when I was working at Yahoo, we did a podcast called White One Question Time, which is just like a proper like millennial like mum podcast. Like it was just loads of TV stars interviewed by another TV star. She used to present the X Factor back in the day. So she's got like an old school like contact base, but one of the people she had in was Keith Lemon. And like, I was like 19 and I didn't really, and was I 19? No, I would have left uni. So it was in 2019. So I would have been 23, 22.
Okay.
Anyway.
Around there.
Yeah. And Keith Lemon came in, I was producing the podcast with him and it was just like, all the other guests we'd had before, I like knew, but I wasn't really asked about. But he was the first one. I was like, I watched you growing up, and that was like my first celeb encounter. That was like, oh, this is sick. This is like my job. But yeah, that's probably the first one. And then being that from and just like obviously all the fellas people we've met, big YouTube fan growing up. So
yeah,
I'm sure we'll get onto that. But
yeah, for sure. And has Keith Lemon got those two sides that people do speak about? Obviously the character.
Yeah,
and
and then Lee, whatever. Well, I don't know his surname.
I can't remember his name.
Lee. You know what? He was pretty like chaotic. Like he was pretty like mental. You'd expect him to be.
Yeah.
But he was also at the same time like just a really down to earth bloke. And like, obviously, I just did a podcast with him. I wasn't really involved. I'm not involved in the discussion. I'm literally just like riding the desk like got here. And he was a calm bloke. He was really nice. Yeah.
Fair enough. And I noticed as well you've done a podcast with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh yeah, shit. That is really niche. Jesus. I didn't
We do our research.
Yeah, we have. Fuck. No, it wasn't like a podcast with him per se.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this short story series that we made, and that was like during lockdown. Essentially, like we got sponsored by this charity to create a bunch of, get loads of fans of like our work and our podcast collective to send in their short stories. We ran a competition, and the best, I think it was 14. Sent in their stories. We chose them, the best 14, and then we sent them off to like a various like talent pool, which this charity had already had ambassadors, and he was one of the ambassadors for this charity.
Okay.
So I never actually spoke to him or worked with him. I literally just received an audio file on email with him reading this children's story, and then I cut it up and put like, sound effects on it to make it. It was quite interesting. Yeah, it was proper sound editing.
Yeah, still pretty coll though. How did you first get into that? Because obviously, like, these are big names we're throwing about here.
Yeah.
So how do you build up the sort of accolades for somebody to come in and go, we want you producing this?
Yeah, that's something that I always get, like, whenever I do like my TikToks, I'll always like people reply like, how'd you get into this, or like, oh, dream job, all this stuff. And I think without sounding like the bell end, it's really tricky to like to explain to people that it's not just like, oh, I'm not just been chosen because I'm pals with Cal and Chip. Like, I didn't know them before. I applied through Twitter.
Oh, wow.
I saw it on Twitter, and like, I think for me, obviously, when I was at uni, I did journalism, so I was doing student radio alongside that, utilising their facilities like we got in here. And then me and my mate, we started our own podcast. I did my radio show like twice a week or whatever, and then we started our own podcast. And I had a podcast portfolio that I'd edited and produced, and it was just me and him. I'm not going to explain what that podcast was because I do not want people finding it. And I don't know if you guys have found it. I don't know.
I've seen a little bit of it. Just scattered around.
Yeah, it was. I'm not going to go too much into that.
How did you get into working with the big names?
So yeah, obviously me and my mate, we started our podcast, and it was a success, to be fair. Like, neither of us had a following, and we were getting like 900 weekly listeners or something. It was really good. Like, because I'll be honest, it was about a show. So, you know, Gavin and Stacey.
Yes.
It was about Gavin and Stacey, and we just, because nothing was being produced for it, and we knew there was a big cult following, we went through each episode and spoke about it and analysed it, and we knew that people liked that. So we didn't do any TikTok clips because it wasn't around at the time.
Yeah.
We just spoke about each episode, self-produced everything around that, and luckily, whilst we were like episode 7 into the podcast, they announced the Christmas special.
Oh, that's
obviously
big.
It came back after like 7 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer than that. And yeah, it was a real touch because people were searching for it. And then we got even more followers, and my mate started like a Gavin and Stacey meme page to like drive like followers back to our podcast, which really helped. So yeah, it was decent. We got on like New and Noteworthy on Apple Podcasts. And
nice.
I think we just because of that had a nice portfolio to my name.
Mm.
And then obviously I applied for Yahoo, got the job, and it was, as I said, it was a junior position. Instead of getting someone more experienced in, they wanted to take a chance on a junior and like give them the experience. And yeah, very thankful for that.
Perfect.
I was just gonna ask as well, because you mentioned during your time at uni there you had the radio show, but you were editing as well, because I stumbled across a video on YouTube through our research called Puppy Love, a day in the life of Puppy UK. And I just want you to sort of explain not only to us but to the audience what exactly happened there, because you were an editor on that, weren't you?
Yeah, so
it's not you in the
don't worry.
Just double check.
Bro, okay, so it was a really weird one. So that was for my course. So I did multimedia journalism, and one of our final projects was MMP, so multimedia project. And we made a film documentary, and obviously it's only like 7 minutes long, I think it was. And me, my friend Ben, who's the presenter, he's like my best mate, like we're inseparable. But he was the presenter on it, and I kind of filmed a lot of it and edited a lot of it. He essentially went to a house. This guy who lived there was the pageant winner of Mr. Puppy UK. So what that entailed is people dressing up as dogs for like a sexual fetish, as well as their own kind of like
escapism almost.
It's an escapism, exactly. Yeah. So there was a big community. This house that we went to in Portsmouth, they were like really friendly guys, and a few of them dressed up and did that. And he was the pageant winner, so he was Mr. Puppy UK. And we decided, we saw it online, and we thought, let's make a documentary out of it. Because originally, first time we saw it was on This Morning. There was someone literally being interviewed dressed as a dog. So we're like, there must be more to this, and did our research, found out there was a Mr. Puppy UK. Bournemouth Uni at the time, so to Portsmouth, not too far, like hour drive. Drove there, did a full like afternoon of shooting with him, interviewed him. Like, he showed us all of his stuff, and he whipped out a tail, bro, and it was a butt plug.
Oh god!
And I'm not even joking yet. This thing was as thick as this can. Like, it was fucking massive. But fair play, whatever floats your boat.
I have to say as well, I watched it and I thought it was a mockumentary. You guys took it so seriously.
We had to, because it's a uni project.
Yeah.
But I was watching it, I'm thinking it's so serious to the point where they must be taking the mick. But you weren't. And could you keep a straight face throughout all of that?
So yeah, it was really tough, because obviously, like, I did used to want to go into like documentary making. I wanted to, although I've never been like a talented filmmaker as per se, I've never really been one to like research film and like be into my films hugely. I loved the idea of creating something from scratch to finish, like, you know, like everyone does, making these sorts of projects. And we obviously found this topic that was really interesting, and I wanted to kind of show it in a light that wasn't us taking a piss, because you know what it's like at uni. You don't want to upset people like on a scale like that represents the university. Obviously, it's quite a sensitive space, uni. I don't know if you guys found that, but like there's a lot of people that not get offended, because obviously like we didn't want to go into these guys' home and like take the piss out of what he did. But also at the same time, although I couldn't understand it, it's what makes them happy. You know?
And I think there's a lot of people with different hobbies, and
exactly, bro.
I think especially when you're documenting something like that, it's definitely a good idea to be respectful and more take it from like, you got to observe it and document it rather than make a judgment.
Well,
exactly. And the toughest bit was Ben was the presenter, was sort of talking to him, and Mr. Puppy got his friend along, who also lives with him, and he came down in his pup suit. They were both playing on the like lounge floor, and Ben was like having to feed them grapes.
The grapes, I saw that.
and he just looks over and it's so like, this is what I can understand why you think it's a mockumentary, because he looks over at me and he's just like, and it's obviously like he's trying not to laugh, but also at the same time it's like, bro, you're feeding grapes to humans dressed as dogs.
I'm trying not to laugh right now.
No, I'm telling you, it was crazy, but that was such a sick project, though, to be fair. And we got a really good grade for it. So
that's good. Yeah, no, it was that was an experience. That kind of 7 minutes watching that.
Yeah.
We surprisingly, actually, weirdly have a very similar background from what I've found.
Oh, okay.
I also lived in Ashtead.
Oh yeah.
So not far from Guildford in Surrey, and my parents kind of live in Bournemouth.
Oh.
So I just when you were speaking, then I was like, Guildford.
Yeah.
Literally, probably lived in Ashtead whilst you lived in Guildford.
So like my godmother lives in Ashtead.
Oh really?
Yeah. And I know Ashtead really well. I've spent like a lot of my childhood around that way. My grandma lives in Leatherhead. So,
oh okay.
Yeah. That's weird.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
Whereabouts in Bournemouth do your family live?
So they live in Talbot Woods.
Talbot Woods. That's literally by the
right next to the uni. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what I mean. Like it was very strange.
That's very weird.
But what was Bournemouth Uni like? Because I've heard good things, and I've heard bad things.
Yeah, you know what? I think if you're going there for a media course like I did, it's amazing, and the facilities are unreal, and they give you that freedom. Like my course was first year, second year was so hard working, and all of my mates who were doing marketing and shit like that were just dossing about, going out every night and stuff. Like, we had our fair share, but like because we literally had days where we had to be in 9 till 5, and that's really unheard of for uni. But then
I did civil engineering, so that's completely heard of.
But then third year we it was so good. We literally had 2 projects. We had the multimedia project, which was the documentary at Christmas, and then our dissertation due in the summer. So I had 2 things the entire year, no exams, nothing. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's phenomenal.
So like my third year was the DOS, but then my first 2 were so shit. So that kind of balanced it out.
Yeah.
Whilst my mates were struggling, I was living.
I'm so jealous. Well, Tom's technically still at uni.
I study the marketing course that everyone takes as a DOS, but I'm
sorry, bro.
I tried so hard not to laugh when you said that.
I'm enjoying it, to be fair. And we've got some crazy stories from uni, as I'm sure everyone that goes to uni does. Do you have one particularly wild night that took place?
Shit.
Obviously nothing's going to get you in trouble, but
to be fair, we have to do a podcast on that at some point.
You know what? Uni's a weird one, isn't it? Because I feel like you become so desensitized to the shit that happens.
I was a rugby fresher in first year, so I got very desensitized.
I won't go into it, but I'm not a fan of the rugby lot.
Me neither, man. Rugby lads are not
I did leave in the first year.
Okay, fair enough. I got sent a video actually on our group chat. So all of us, actually that's a good one to go with. So when I was at uni, I don't know if you guys saw recently, I posted the miss that I had, the football miss.
Yes.
That group, that football team was my intramural football team from uni.
We intramural as well.
So fucking fun. Every Wednesday we had our games, and like obviously there's a squad of like 14, 15 of us. We just obviously played every Wednesday. So Wednesday was like the sports night for unis as well, so we kind of made it our own to like it be a thing, and we're still all in touch now, and it's so nice, and we're all really good pals. But every time we went out with them lot, like we had a cup run, got to the final of the cup, so like the semi-finals were so sick.
Sounds so familiar.
By the way, this is exactly what we've been through.
Go on, carry on.
We had the night out after the semi-final that we won, I'd probably say was the most memorable, because like you have like them. It's not planned. It's not obviously them nights where you're just like, it's off the back of like, a bit of success, or something that's like bringing you all together was brilliant. So and our friend Luke, who is now like, he's doing really well for himself. He's running like the PRODDY C like sort of video content, so for the darts, and he was our manager at the time, because the first game of the season he did his ACL, so he literally said, fuck it, I'll be the manager. I got beef with him though, because he didn't play me in the final. I didn't step on grass in the final. But you can see why I'm shit. So, but it was good fun. So uni was sick. It was sick. But
there are some phenomenal parallels there between
I was reliving every moment that we went through.
So we met
genuinely
because of intramural football.
Sick.
I was his captain.
Nice.
What's more than that though? We had a manager who had an injury. Cam was my best mate. An injury, so we
couldn't play because he had like his knees would pop out basically.
Yeah.
So he'd be helping me like with the organisation as the manager.
Sick.
So it's exactly the same thing.
I was the captain as well, so because I got the team together, but obviously not the best player.
That's exactly the same as me. I came in the 5 minutes of the final.
He was captain. He didn't play me in the final.
Did you lose the final?
We won on penalties.
We lost on penalties. So that's where we differ.
But we actually went the whole season undefeated.
Oh wow.
League and Cup.
I don't know if that's because we were really good or everyone else was very.
I mean, to be fair, if you look at the team this season, which is mostly the same players, but like to be fair, a few upgrades. They're a joke. They've won like 5-0, 7-0,
Wait, so
9-0.
did you set a foundation for other people to
Yeah.
play? That's exactly what we've done, but I don't think they play anymore now.
We've had a struggle this season. They've had a struggle this season because just weather. Swansea, Wales, it's awful. Always raining, and the grounds are, and we know, terrible.
I'm going to say this now though, like your standard probably is lower in Swansea, purely because like it's full of rugby players.
To be fair,
I would agree with that.
Our first team.
Yeah, but we can't really.
No, I'm not comparing us to our
Swansea
first team.
actual uni I've heard is quite good because you hear of like these uni football teams getting to like, I swear was it a Swansea one that got
Our
into the FA Cup?
futsal team got to the Champions League of futsal
Fucking hell.
when I was there. Yeah. I mean it's futsal, but still it's pretty impressive. But yeah, that was a funny link there when you were saying all that intramural
I
stuff.
feel we went massively off topic there.
We
You
have.
asked about uni nights out or something.
Yeah.
But I actually can't, like, as I said, I'm too desensitized to like what we did at uni.
Yeah.
This is the thing people say like on the podcast, oh, get Cal on like to speak about like stories and things. I actually don't have any fuck stories that I would like that I could share, I feel.
Yeah, I don't think I'll just have.
You know what I mean?
I mean, can I share my cup
I
final?
don't want to share any of them,
No,
to be honest.
No.
Do
Also,
I-
as well, I had a girlfriend all the way through uni. So,
So
yeah.
Let's just say
We're like the same.
congratulations. Yeah.
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 We're still together, to be fair.
Oh, mine left me.
Oh, nice. After uni?
My final year, by the end of my second last year.
Okay, so you had final year on the tear then.
Yeah, that was fun.
Let's
move on.
I'm just getting memories of exactly what he was up to in final.
Yeah, well, I will say the cup final win night. My sister would be very annoyed at me for a specific reason, which I won't get into on the podcast. But she knows, and she's
On the
watching.
topic of
So
sisters, actually.
Oh, where are we going with this?
No, don't worry. My sister gave firm words with me because obviously, like, I forget on the podcast like how many people listen to it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll like overshare a bit. Like if we're having a solo episode, I'll overshare a bit or whatever. My sister just said to me like at Christmas, I've learned things about you I don't want to know. And I was just like, well, what do you expect? What did you expect us to talk about?
well, that's the thing with the Lily Phillips podcast is I didn't want my parents necessarily to listen to it.
Yeah.
And then I remember because I was at home at the time, and my mum, I just came downstairs one morning, and my mum just looked at me and went, "So that last podcast was interesting."
Oh my god! I had visions when we were recording it at the time when she was like obviously talking to us and some of the stuff she was saying. I had visions because we were going to release it around Christmas time.
Yeah.
I had visions of my mum having a couple glasses of wine and going, "Oh, Grandma, do you want to see Tom's podcast? Let's see what he's up to." And then that being played out over Christmas dinner.
Well, it's almost with the dog, the puppy, Mr. Puppy.
Yeah.
Obviously, our most popular TikTok is to do with a fetish.
Go on, explain.
Well, it's a piss fetish. She used to have a piss fetish.
What,
Doesn't-
as in Lily did?
yeah, she doesn't anymore, but she used
What,
to.
just did it?
I didn't really.
Didn't get into the specifics.
No.
She just sort of
So it's like
stated
golden
it.
shower stuff.
Yeah. Literally, if you check out our TikTok at the Blue Podcast, a little plug there, you will find out it's the. Oh my god, I'm keeping that in the podcast.
I can't be asked to tilt the glass, bro.
Camera, zoom in.
I used to work at a pub as well, bro. So
You should be ashamed of
yeah,
yourself.
it will go down.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right, let's move on to the fellas.
Yes.
Obviously, you said you got it through a Twitter.
Yeah.
What is it? Just you sent them
No, Cal tweeted it. I'll let
Okay,
you
yeah.
find the tweet. Cal tweeted saying, "Want someone to join the team." Let me get it up. All right, so Cal tweeted on the 30th of August, 2021. He said, "Hello, fellow studios are hiring a podcast producer. If you have experience filming, editing, and producing podcasts, and get in touch." And then sent the email.
Yeah.
And then my mate tagged me in it. Two friends actually tagged me in it, and I applied. He tweeted that, and I think it was like a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I sent an email on the Thursday. I got a reply from Sam Hilton, who's Cal's old videographer, on the Friday whilst I was out shopping. I remember exactly where I was as well. I was literally like down like the veg aisle, and I remember looking at my phone. But it's weird how like like when you have those moments in life and you remember exactly the positions you were stood and the smells and like who you were talking to and stuff. So I remember exactly that. Sam emailed me saying, "Oh, can we get an interview sorted?" I was going on holiday for my girlfriend's birthday on Sunday, so I then arranged an interview for the Monday when I was in Spain, and then literally that afternoon got offered the job.
Oh,
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So it was literally less than a week turnaround. It was so cool.
Yeah. Have you? How was it going from being the producer behind the camera, producer Cal, to then becoming PRODDY C in front of the camera?
You know, it was a weird one because like I obviously always have had that experience, like presenting, obviously doing my own podcast and also presenting a radio show like twice a week. So I've always wanted, I used to want to be a radio presenter, like, but realistically that's not that possible because the amount of jobs that are available are so minimal. And if you think about it as well, look at Greg James, like BBC One.
Yeah.
He has been in that job for like 8 years now, 9 years. Maybe even longer, I don't even know. But he's been in that job for so long, and that's one show, and there's 3, 4, 5 a day.
Yeah, true.
That's in the week. And then the weekend there's another 5 or 6 per day. That's what, like 12 jobs a week, and that don't get changed that often. So it's like, realistically, how often are you actually going to find an application, or how often is that going to happen? And even then, they've got like a backlog of like 15, 20 producers and presenters, that they think would work well on that show.
Yeah.
So you're so far behind, and it's realistically, I decided when I finished uni and started doing my own podcast and I applied for that job, I thought I'm just gonna have to leave the radio dream because it's not going to work out for me. And a lot of people are now transitioning over to podcasting because that dream is dead. But yeah, no. So answer to your question.
Happy that you've come in front of the camera then?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Like when Cal said to me, he went on the podcast and he said to me, want to get you in front of the camera.
I actually remember that podcast.
Yeah. What, the first one?
Yeah, I've listened to the fellas for a while, to be fair.
Sick. No, he said to me, he was like, how would you... So he said to me and the pitch side producer at the time, who's now changed, we want to get our producers on mic and camera. And I was like, I was sort of just chilled about it, whatever. But I knew that inside I was like, this is such a huge opportunity for me to kind of like, broaden my horizons a bit and not just be sat in front of a computer editing or fact checking and stuff and off camera or whatever. It adds an extra dynamic, and I think when he said that, obviously I was gassed, but just get calm.
Play cool, yeah.
Then did the first episode, I was absolutely shitting myself.
I can imagine, yeah.
But I think what's been the biggest thing is like the lack of hate I've received.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Have you had much backlash from it?
I've had like a couple, like there's like one person that just constantly goes at me. And that's like obvious, like it's always going to happen. And
what do you go at you?
It's just like if I post on TikTok, I'll always comment. But then it's like, I think in my head, I'm like, bro, it's on you. You're the one videos every time.
Well, that's the same with us because we get so many.
We get the classic, like,
not everyone needs a podcast.
Yes.
We've been told we're like boring, not very interesting. Just the classics, but we think of it as engagement. More comments, more engagement. Perfect. We love it.
And you know what? The biggest thing is, it's like you're doing something that they would love to do. That's my biggest thing with Thogden. Like people hating on him.
Yeah.
People hate on this geezer who goes to football games and gets paid to do so, makes money off going to football matches, because they would love to do that. And that is ultimately the fact of it. Obviously, when you get hate for doing something they would love to do, the line is so blurred. It's like, well, are you actually hating or are you just being openly jealous?
Yes.
Yeah. And I would never be the sort of person to leave someone hate.
Well, that's the thing. That was the thing when we have a conversation about a lot is we don't know anyone like personally who would leave hate, which is what we're trying to get our heads around of who are these people.
It's more the point that they're watching the entire video and then taking the time out of their day to comment something that they have no guarantee that we will ever see it or be affected by it, but they still feel the need to comment.
It's like the comments like love the sound of your own voice and stuff. It's like, mate, as if you wouldn't. Like, not saying not as if you wouldn't like make content alongside what you're doing as your work, because like for me, I get told like by people, which is so lovely. Like whenever someone messages me, it genuinely makes my day. Like people say, you're the bridge between the YouTube boys and us listeners, because you're not one of them. You're one of us who is now speaking and talking on camera, and it makes them feel more connected to the podcast. And like that for me is like exactly why I do it. Like obviously I let the boys crack on, do whatever. But if they want me involved and I'm getting a benefit of it in terms of, you know, people are enjoying what I do, and that's the dream scenario for me.
Yeah,
you know?
that's amazing. And on that kind of being the bridge between normal person and the fellas. Yeah. When you wore that Chelsea shirt for the Ramsdale podcast, bro, as a Chelsea fan personally, I was like, yes, absolutely.
I had to because like the thing is, I know what Ramsdale's like as a person. Never met him before. I did speak to him when I did that England thing, but I knew that he'd be a sound guy, and so I was like, he's not going to get pissed off at it. And so I did wear it for a bit, and then put it back. Put
the hoodie back on, yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to take the complete piss here, and if I actually want to ask him a question, I don't want him to be like, I can't answer this because this geezer's wearing a Chelsea shirt. Like, Arsenal fans probably get a bit pissed about that or whatever, but, you know, fair enough. But, look, at the end of the day, I'm sure you guys are like this when you're watching content and you want to kind of relate to it in some sort of way. And I've watched YouTube all my upbringing, you know, since I was like, 11, 12? However long it's been around. I'm now 25, it's like 15 years. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have to ask now. Now you've had a couple drinks, let's get this on in later. Who's funnier, Cal Freezy or Chip?
No, I can't answer that. But I mean, look, Cal is definitely the anchor of the kind of like interview, and Chip would admit that as well. Like he's the guy that asks the important questions. That the reason the guest is here. Chip will be the guy with the one-liners. He'll say the stuff that's more relatable to the kind of listener and stuff that, you know, is his comedy. You know, his videos are full of like one-liners and quick-fire comedy. Cal is definitely a really talented interviewer. So it's a really nice balance between the two of them, to be honest. And that's why I feel like I get along so well with them as friends as well, because with Cal, obviously I did journalism at uni. I have that vested interest in wanting to ask questions to the guests, and Cal kind of does that. And then with Chip, me and him get along so well, like, you know, about, you know, just everyday life. So it's a nice balance I've got with them, which is really great.
No, that's great. And obviously you can see on camera there's a great dynamic between the two of them, and they're both absolutely hilarious YouTubers, which is why they've got to the point they're at the moment. Do you have any sort of nights out stories you can share from that group? Anyone doing anything, not anything
obviously
bad,
don't dub anyone in, but is there anything, because obviously you went to Australia as well, and there was a few.
It was crazy, bro. Like, it was sick. I think the biggest thing for me was that was my first taste of like people knowing who I was, because obviously beforehand, being in the UK, I was like just receiving messages or like comments like, you know, about me on the podcast. But when I went to Australia, I was like, this is tapped. Like the fact that people would stop you in the street and like, you know, talk to you or whatever. I'm always having that when I'm with the boys out in public anyway. Yeah. But when you're in Australia and there's like people know who you are, it's a really weird feeling. But yeah, nights out, I think obviously all of the meetups were amazing. All of them were just absolute chaos. I think the boys were really cautious of not creating a live podcast. They wanted it just to be fellas fans come and encapsulate everything that the fellas is, and that is drinking, having a laugh, chatting complete bollocks. And it was a weird one because we started in Brisbane and finished in Melbourne. Yeah. And Melbourne was the biggest, Brisbane was the smallest.
Interesting.
So it kind of like, it really kind of built over time. Brisbane was very much like the boys were just in a normal bar, all on one level. And then we finished in Melbourne where there was a stage. So the Melbourne one, let's just go with that. We had people come up on stage and do Thunder, which is, you might have seen it in the vlog.
Yeah.
People just fucking
throwing up everywhere
and everything. And obviously, like after them, we went our separate ways and did our own thing and stuff. And we had some brilliant nights out after that, some amazing bars. And yeah, it was a trip of a lifetime. And I had a lot of work to do as well. Yeah. So I was making sure that I didn't like fuck up the work.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm very much of the opinion, like, if you get these opportunities, you need to enjoy every moment of them. So if that means me getting up at 7 on a complete disgusting hangover, so be it, because I want to be able to enjoy my day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And while you touch on that, actually, so obviously you have to work a lot after you go on these nights out with the guys. And a lot of time you'll be very hungover. What's your go-to hangover cure?
You know what? I'm a big water drinker anyway, so I think I'm always at an advantage to a lot of people because I always have a big bottle of water with me. We'll always drink throughout the day, so I think I'm always quite hydrated. So I think obviously when you get back, just like drink that neck a ton of water. That's always a big thing. As far as the next day goes, I'm one of these people that is just an avid coffee drinker as well. So I'll always just smash a coffee first thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm calm. I'm honestly calm to function off like very little sleep. The worst part for me is like when my eyes wake up and then when I step out the shower or when I step in the shower, that's the worst moment. But then literally as soon as the water hits me, I'm good for the day.
Are you cold or hot water?
I'm a hot water man, but I do want to get into the cold water stuff.
Okay.
I've tried it a couple of times and I love the feeling afterwards, but it's just like the feeling when it hits you and those 10
it's horrible.
seconds is awful.
It is horrible.
I was going to say, my central heating went out in my uni house just before Christmas, and we had to have cold showers. And for me, the euphoria you get after stepping out of a cold shower is not worth the 5 minutes of utter pain.
No, but it's not even euphoria though, because if you're in a student house and you're getting out and stepping out into some shitty bathroom that's like disgustingly cold, reeks of mold, and you're fucking freezing. Like, if you're doing it and you're stepping out into a lovely warm house,
Yeah,
like, cool,
true. Yeah.
put on your nice warm dressing gown or like whatever.
Dressing gown's good.
You're calm.
Yeah.
But if you're in some shitty student house, bro, it's the worst.
Mate, literally recently though, I'm staying at my grandparents right now, and when they're not in, they don't leave the heating on.
Right.
And they went away whilst the whole of London froze. It was so cold in the kitchen whilst I was cooking that I had my water bottle that fell on the floor and the lid shattered.
What?
So, like, that's how cold it was. The
It
plastic.
can't possibly have been that cold.
The plastic was
Wait,
so
did you
cold.
not turn the heating on?
Well, I can't. I'm not. I don't know how to.
Oh,
They just
not
turn.
ask.
Well, I can take it. It's fine. But like,
Just stick
Why
it on,
don't you
bro.
just ask us
Go up to the
turn it on?
thermostat and press up.
I've just realised I have no idea where I'm going with this topic.
Well, I'll take over because
Yeah.
it must be
Oh my
nice for
God.
the option of
I was up
separating
too
to
late
be
last
there
night.
because most student houses, sometimes that option doesn't even exist.
no.
I'll tell you the one,
That is true, yeah.
the one I'm in at the moment. So I'm living in London because I'm on a placement this year. And we just didn't have central heating for like a good solid month. It's because we have like fixed bills.
Yeah.
So obviously, it would, like if it's fixed and the prices are going up, they're going to cut down how much they actually give you. And my radiator hasn't turned on in a few weeks, I'll be honest. So at least it's nice to have the option of central
true.
heating rather than just not having it at all.
Yeah.
I think.
How was your uni house?
My halls were unreal, but like our halls were actually like the basis for a lot of friendships. It was quite sick. So everyone in our flat got along really well. And then obviously people brought their friends in, and that's how we kind of formed our football team based off that. So our halls were amazing. Second year, it was me, as I said about Ben earlier, me, Ben, another guy called Charlie, and two other people from our course. Actually, no, one of the other ones was a friend of mine who lived with us in first year as well. Really nice group, like lovely house, like it was calm. Like we a bit too far out from uni, but it is what it is. Third year was like the best group as such. But my house is like we're all pretty tidy and like with it, so we weren't like scummy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no complaints with who I live with during uni. Obviously, everyone's got you live in shit up houses. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
So it just is what it is.
Yeah, so my uni house in first year, well, it wasn't obviously a house, but it was living in halls. And so I live with a...
Was it Bay?
Bay campus,
Okay.
yeah. So I live with a drug dealer in first year, which is so much fun.
Did you know about it?
To be fair, I did
knew
as well,
about
actually,
it.
as well. But I forgot
You're
you
a very
did.
brave man admitting how you knew about it.
No, I didn't know about yours. I forgot about yours. Was it? Yes.
We'll bleep that name.
Yeah.
And I also live with a rugby lad. And I mean, we've already touched on
Real
how-
eclectic mix.
Genuinely, yeah. I mean, there's six of us, six lads,
Yeah.
and the four of us were such good mates, and then we had the two others.
The two
And-
alcohol.
Okay, the five of us were good mates, then we had one outcast.
That's
Again,
rough.
we'll bleep that. And
So
he's not watching.
the
Wait, so
the
what
drug
did you
dealer
get
weren't
drug
even the
dealers in your-
outcast.
because he's just the drug
There's
dealer was
none
not an
of this just
outcast.
making it in.
The drug dealer was not an outcast, but we won't.
Is that because he's going to probably be watching this and could shank you if he...
Potentially.
Yeah.
We'll go back to it. So anyway, the one outcast in the flat was a rugby lad,
Yeah.
Welsh, and he came in and he didn't really make an effort to make friends with us, and
Yeah.
because he had all of his mates already there. And I remember vividly coming in one morning after heavy night out. Well, I say heavy night out. This was during lockdown,
Oh,
so obviously
nice.
it's 10 p.m. curfew.
Yeah.
So we're heading off to Spoons at 5:30 to beat the queue. Get back at 9 o'clock. stick the garlic bread in the oven, and then go to bed afterwards, like early night. But that was just how it was.
That was the way it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And coming in the next morning, I find a cup of what I think is lager in the sink. Quick sniff. That's definitely not lager, and it's because the rugby lads have been in the kitchen drinking each other's piss. Yeah.
Fucking freaks, man.
Yeah, I've
Genuinely, I mean, you were a rugby fresh. I know you said you got out of it, but
no, well, I got out of it.
Rugby lads are the worst.
I got out of it just.
What did you have to do?
I know what you had to do. But
Can you tell it on the podcast what you had to do?
I think so. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Just a lot of.
Not too bad. Yeah, I'm sure.
My football initiation was worse, but that was because it was initiation, and we also had the worst initiation for about like 2 years before and 3 years after. It was very culty. The thing is, I put my shoulder out playing for the men's team right at the start of the season, so kind of I went to the first couple. I mean, it was culty. The thing is, it's a little bit culty because if you think about it, like I don't know how to put it. It's really difficult because it wasn't, but it was. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're in it, you love it and you really enjoy it because I'm sinking again because like all your fresher mates like you get really close to. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've drunk a stupid amount of piss in my time from football and rugby. No, but from football as well.
You didn't even get paid to do it.
Do you know what, as well? I've heard stories of like.
Yeah, I should have got OnlyFans, man.
If you're a football fresher, it's just something that happens that you get pissed on. I remember.
Well, no, you are unlucky if you do.
Ben Ancliffe,
apart from drinking.
Ben Ancliffe has told me one of our good mates from uni. He's told me he's pissed on freshers before.
I mean, I've
no, mate. That's so
not
weird.
pissed on freshers.
It's so weird.
That's a lie.
No, it's not.
You're spoken.
It's not.
He's lying, but that's weird. Isn't it?
It's so fucking odd, bro. And this is the thing that.
No, to be fair, I actually haven't. I've done something else.
I also don't want to give them the fucking airtime because actually they fucking piss me off. But it's more just like it's that kind of intimidation factor they bring for like the kind of first years, and then people just sort of latch onto it. It's very like school bullying in a way. Like I'm not saying like these people obviously are being bullies, but it's more the same mentality of like the people coming in as the first year. You're like, oh, I need to do what the older boys tell me to do, even if it's like getting my dick out and like putting it in someone's fucking ear. Like,
yeah,
that's what you think.
There are levels to it, and you can't go too far with them. There are 100%,
and I'd argue that people going too far for you is a lot higher than what I-class is going too far.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Pissing in someone's drink, which happens all the time, is way too far. Like way too.
Oh, it's horrendous.
Too far, but like that's just standard.
Yeah, to be fair, and the thing for me, I think a lot of the mentality is if you become a fresher, you do the whole year, and then when it comes to your turn, I think for a lot of people the mentality is, I've been through it. It's someone else's turn.
Yeah, well,
which is not very positive looking back on it now.
And I know it's a bit weird comparison to make. That's what people make him do in work.
Yeah.
Like people say, oh, I was treated like shit in work, so you should be treated like shit. It's the same thing. Like my first job, I was told by my boss, she said to me, word for word, she went away for a 2-week holiday and came back. Like it was just like 5 weeks into the job, by the way, 20 years old. She comes back and says, oh, I was treated like shit by my boss and like scum of the earth. I could do the same to you, but I'm not going to. It's like, well,
whoa.
It's literally the same sort of concept of being like, and I don't want to make this concept, but it's like, if you were cheated on, I'll cheat on someone else.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
You're either the sort. I was chatting to my girlfriend about this last night. Actually, so watching. Have you guys seen The White Lotus?
I haven't.
I've seen episodes because my parents are watching it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
During Christmas.
It's really good. It's like Euphoria kind of vibes, but like a bit more diverse in the storylines and stuff. But essentially, all people go to the hotel. You learn about different characters, and one of the characters is like this hotshot business guy, and he just openly cheats on his wife, and the wife knows but doesn't say anything. And it's like he was talking about someone, getting abused when they're younger, and they were saying, they treat people with that same disdain. And it's like, well, then people who are also abused, some people might go the other way and be far more respectful.
Yeah.
So growing up, seeing your dad as a cheat, let's say, you might have amazing respect for him and be like, I don't want to be like my father. Yeah. Or I'm going to treat women the same because I've seen my dad do it. It's the same concept as like, in work, in school, in uni, like people have that kind of A or B side almost. It's fucked.
No, absolutely. It's interesting. And I think just to round things off, I want to talk about Chelsea because I speak about Chelsea to my mates who work a lot because obviously they're quite a polarising club at the moment with the amount they've been spending. I have this one thing that I can't get out of my head, and maybe you'll be able to help me out, help me understand it. But for me, I just can't understand why you think that buying Mudryk, Sterling and Madueke is a better front three than Pulisic, Havertz and Ziyech.
I've got so many reasons.
Money on them, right?
Right, yeah.
So many reasons.
What's to stop them flopping exactly?
Sure.
Nothing.
There's nothing stopping them from flopping. However, I think if you look at Pulisic and the culture that he came into the club with, he came into a club that was very much run by, if you're shit, you are disposed of. If the manager's shit, he's disposed of. Players have more power. The new owner's come in and said he wants to get rid of player power and be like, look, we'll build a project. The manager's going nowhere, so you better buck up your ideas or you're gone. Obviously, buying a player like Madueke, he's a young lad with a lot of hype, but also he's on a fat contract. So if he doesn't live up to potential, we have loads of options. Someone's got to come in and buy, spend a huge amount on to get him out of his contract, or we send him on loan like we have done previous times. But I think with Pulisic, he comes with such a... I'm not a huge Pulisic fan as a whole. I think he's a really talented player, and I think if he went to Liverpool, he'd score 25 goals a season. I think that's just a fact. But under us, I think for whatever reason, he's not quite lived up to it, and we saw flashes of it, didn't we?
Yes.
After COVID.
When the Lampard bit, just before he got injured in the FA Cup final, he was
amazing.
our best player.
He was the only time I've been excited by a player since Hazard. And I think that says volumes about what he can do.
Yeah, 100%.
But also at the same time, I look at Mudryk, he come on against Liverpool. Yeah, he didn't score.
He looked good.
He looked good, and I was excited by it. And I think we've missed that as Chelsea fans, that excitement. Obviously, I'm a huge Mason Mount fan. I cannot stand the hate that he gets.
I am exactly the same.
It's a fucking joke. This guy has won Champions League. He's
phenomenal.
He's a fantastic player, and he gets treated with such disrespect. And fair play, it hasn't spilled into the mainstream yet. It's just Twitter opinions.
Yeah.
So you can't really look too much into it. But what you're saying is what's to stop it happening again?
Because, for instance, you've got so many attacking options, Tom Head, Aubameyang, Mount, Havertz.
Don't put Aubameyang in there.
Yeah,
don't put Aubameyang in there.
He doesn't play for my club.
No.
Okay, but you signed him.
Yeah,
and he's on a big contract. He's not a big contract.
But he was signed for Tuchel.
Okay, but my point is, you're about to sign Nkunku in the summer as well, right?
What a signing, by the way.
Already got Mudryk. So you get all these players in.
Although Nkunku does reek of Werner.
He does, but at the same time...
That's my point. You've already tried this so many times.
Same time, though...
It's the new owner.
Yes.
It's the new owner wanting to get his team.
Yes.
He's wanting it to be his side, and Potter, in fairness to him, is look, if I'm going to implement my style of football and have my say in the club's future, I want the players that I've built rather than the old manager's players and making them make good. The only players I can think from the old manager that would... I think he does really want Havertz to work. I think there's a clear evidence that he does.
That's why he starts pretty much every game right now.
Exactly. So I think Mount, Havertz, Thiago Silva, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, even Kepa.
Yeah.
I think you've got... And Kovacic on this day, I love him. But, Jorginho, he's had good patches for us on the Champions League. I can't complain. But
he's not good enough.
Nah, what happens to Kante when he comes back?
Well, we don't know.
We don't. Yeah,
realistically, we don't know. He's been injured the whole time Potter's been here.
And also, as well, he did look a bit shit towards the end of last season.
Yeah, but it came out he's playing on an injury.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I'm looking forward to him coming back, but there is absolutely no way to know how well he'll play. Yeah. He could be back to his best. Yeah. That's why it's taking him so long. Maybe they're trying to make sure.
Rice, man.
Yes.
We need Declan Rice.
I want to know.
Signings isn't going to solve this.
No, it is though, because our midfield is fucking toilet, bro.
I
would understand.
World class.
He is, but Jorginho's not. That's the thing, and we need another. Ruben Loftus-Cheek's not going to win us a league.
No, of course not. And Conor Gallagher's not.
Can I ask you a question on should we sign Zachariah full time?
He's been your best midfielder.
I would say yeah.
I would say yes.
Because I think he's a good rotation to have.
Yeah.
And he's only going to be a rotation at Juve.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. When he was playing before his injury, I thought he was probably our best midfielder for a while. So I'd say so. But just because we haven't got much time left, I will go back to
what's the time?
We're about 6 minutes.
It's fine.
We've got a bit of
fuck.
If we for the final with the front three, I'd say Pulisic, Mudryk has more. Well, with the new manager, right? He wants to build his own team.
Yeah.
That's why so many of our players that we are signing right now are what 20 and under, 21 and under.
Yeah.
They're so young.
Do you want to ask a question to finish?
So, yeah, I'm answering your question. I think that the reason why he's bringing in Mudryk, João Felix, and Madueke is because he can shape them way more than he can shape those three players. The only person out of those three that could stay is Havertz.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yeah, well, Ziyech is gone. So.
Yeah, Ziyech is gone. But thank you very much for coming on, Proddy.
No worries, man.
Is there anything you want to shout
boys,
out?
Just keep going. Sick.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, go and watch the fellas. I mean, obviously, if you're watching us, you probably already watched the fellas anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to plug?
No, really. Just I'm sure there's a lot more exciting stuff to come. I imagine we'll do another tour in the summer or something.
Oof.
So yeah, keep an eye out.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Check out all our socials, all linked below. Thank you, Tom, again, and we'll see. I screw this up every time. See you on the next podcast, and cheers, guys.
Cheers.